And here we are. Hello. So today, the plan is that we will be playing a game called Colossal. And this is a solo RPG that I backed on Kickstarter. The point of this game is that you are in basically, you're a very little person in a very big castle. So everything that you see, it's all sort of like normal outdoorsy stuff. Mountains and oceans and rivers and all of that sort of normal stuff that you would sort of see in nature. All of these are inside these big castle rooms. And so I'm really excited to check this out. The way that you play is you sort of like draw cards and it like makes encounters for you, and then you like tell a story, hopefully. We'll see how it goes. So the first thing, obviously, that I have to do with this is since it's an RPG. Since it's an RPG, I have to create a character. So I'm going to be going through that first. As you can see here, we've got our little character sheet. And yeah, we're going to do this first. Looks like the first thing that we start off with in creating our character is our character is going to need to have a calling, a nature, a class, and a weapon. So I've got a table here. It's pretty in-depth, so I'm not going to read out the things, but I'm going to draw a card. And then after drawing this card, it'll point me to a place on the table, and then I guess that'll be my character's calling. So we pick a card. Oh, this will be fun. Okay, so everyone that I love and care about super hates rooks. And I've decided to be friends with one. But looks like my rook friend has disappeared. I'm getting Iron Giant vibes from this. Like I go out into the nighttime, down old road to meet my rook friend, who's just very nice. Now my character's nature. So I get to draw another card here. What do we get? Ace. It says I'm happy-go-lucky, extremely optimistic, and fun. Alright. Kind of liking the way this person is going. Sort of in a... I'm getting the vibes of like... I get to create a story, which is the fun part about this game. I'm getting the vibes of like sort of a... Like everyone in my village is very hatred of all sorts of different things. And I'm sort of like, oh, but everything's so nice to me. So next, obviously, thing that I have to decide is the class. Okay, so the first class that's on here is called the Armed. So the Armed literally have an arm from a rook connected to them via some sort of just ritual of something. Our second class that we've got is we've got the Followed. And it says the Followed have a small rook companion, like a pet or familiar that follows them in their commands. They're called rooklings, and they're found inside of the larger rooks. It's like having a dog, but like a little magical rook dog. The third class that we've got on here is called the Helmed. The Helmed, it says harvest a piece of strange machinery from the core of a rook, and then using all sorts of rituals and stuff, are able to create a helm, like a hat, that can be worn and operated, granting them the magical abilities of the rook it was harvested from. So that's like a wizard type class. Fourth class, the Mounted. The Mounted ride an adapted mechanism taken from rook parts as a vehicle or mount to allow them easier traversal across the land and sea of the Colossal. We're going to do the bicycle guy, the Mounted, because that sounds cool. Okay, so an exploration score of 5 and a combat score of 2. I do not have understandings of the magics of the rooks. I've got a purely mechanical understanding of how the rooks work. It says I'm a nomad or a scavenger, constantly on the hunt for felled... Actually, this kind of works with my calling, that I would... Maybe, like, my friend's rook left behind, like, an arm, and I fashioned it into some sort of mount so that I could go look for them. The mount is their heart and their life, like looking after a bike or a beloved car. It says I can take parts from rooks or something out in the wilds and upgrade and add to the functionality of your mount. So basically, like all of the different parts of the rooks, like function on their own. So if there's like a cog that spins inside of the rook, like making it run or something, then that cog will continue to spin even when not connected to the rook, which I find really interesting. It says I have a low starting combat score, but I will find ways to increase that score. And it says it's a storytelling opportunity. I love storytelling opportunities. For my look, what sort of person am I? Where do I come from? Tricycle, 8 legs and arms. It's like, do you ever read like The Big Wheels growing up? You know what I mean? Like, it's like a tricycle, but it was like a cool tricycle. Just call me Low Rider, baby. That's what they call me. They call me Low Rider. Just one long, slappy arm. Maybe we'll get it a sword or something. Or it can shield my eyes. What sort of person am I? Well, I know what sort of person I am, but what sort of person do I look like? That's what truly matters. In this day and age? A villain? No, remember I'm happy-go-lucky and fun. Don't call me a villain. I find that extremely rude. He's got to look like a villain. Maybe he looks like a villain, but he's actually chilling. A pirate. Oh, I like the idea of a pirate. And he could be from like a sea village or something. Actually, that got destroyed by one of those water rooks, because I read in the book that the water rooks are apparently just much bigger and like more terrible than the other type of rook. Although if he's from a sea village, a little tricycle is probably not the most practical. Maybe he won't go into the sea. Maybe he's scared of the sea. They, them. I could do a they, them. It's probably good practice. I do like me a they, them. A sexy they, them to save me from problems. He, them. Okay. Sure. Okay. A raw chin with the Captain Hook mustache. Absolutely. And should he have a hat? Big hat. Make them hot? I mean, I agree. Okay. Big hat. Absolutely. With a big feather. Absolutely. And then it needs a feather. I think the feather should be red. I haven't used any colors yet. I'm going full-on pirate. Because I feel like they've got to have flared legs, right? Oh! The eyebrows. Get you a man with some eyebrows. He does need a name. Okay. What's another name? You know, like Templeton? Wasn't that the name of like a mouse or something? Templeton Skullduggery is really just a fantastic name. So now we get to go into exploration, which is exciting. We get to begin our adventure. You draw a number of cards equal to your character's exploration score, so I'll draw 5, and you set them down in front of you. It can all happen at the same time, so all of the things could happen to me at the same time, or they could happen to me sort of back to back, or it could be over the course of like a month or something like that. I think probably I'll try to make it like be one day, because that makes sense to me, that it would be like one day that I'm doing it in. All of the cards that I'm going to draw have prompts, and those are inside of my little booklet here. First of all, I get to draw my 5 cards. Got a 5, 7 of hearts, 5 of hearts, 3 of clubs, and the 2 of diamonds. So now I get to see what all of these different things mean. Damaged mechanism. Gargoyles, safe dead body. Giant ruined staircase. Animal to hunt for food. And because it's a diamond, it says it's dangerous. So, Templeton Skullduggery. He goes out to the cliff that he always goes out to meet up with his friend, the giant sea rook. The first time he encountered it, he thought that he was going to die. And he was walking alongside the edge of the cliff when he heard like this huge crashing noise against the waves, like different than the waves. And out of nowhere, sort of like this beam of light turns towards him, and this rook was looking him dead in the face. And he'd never been more scared in his entire life. But then the rook was like really nice and very interesting, and sort of maybe it showed him like a new cave or something like that. He would then come back every day, and every day the rook would show him something new. Sometimes it would be something small, like sea glass or something like that. And sometimes it would be little bits of machinery, which he would then add to his bike that he's been working on. This most recent day, he went out there to show the rook the bike that he had just finished. There is just, the cliff where I always stood has just completely been smashed into. Like, it looks like something massive has just like clawed into the cliff and just smashed into it, causing like a huge chunk of it to shear off into the sea. And the rook left a little scrap of cloth, a insignia on it, and that is sort of fluttering on a bush below. And so I attach this little insignia to my tricycle, and I vow to go find my good friends. I think at that point I hear the beating of huge, massive wings, just as I'm about to set out to sort of look around for my friend. And maybe the light from above, the light gets blocked, and I look up, and there's just this absolutely massive monster that is bearing down on me. And it comes, and it scoops me up, and it's flying me over the ocean, which I've never dared to cross before. And so there's this big, like, deep, sort of scary feeling in my chest, and I'm like, oh no, everything's going to be so bad and terrible. And then it sets down and lets me out, and I sort of roll, and I watch as my bike gets smashed up a little bit against the rocks, and I'm in sort of this big nest on a high cliff on the opposite side of the ocean that I was from. It leaves. And I breathe a sigh of relief before realizing that I'm just high up above the ocean. And there doesn't look to be any way down. As I look around in this nest, I find the dead body of another human. So maybe in my town, people have been disappearing, and this was the most recent disappearance that actually got people like really upset about the rooks. And they actually started like a hunting party against maybe my friend, my rook friend. And it says here that upon finding this, I can either draw a card from the item table to see if they have something on their person, or draw from the event table to see if the situation develops. Got a 5 of diamonds. There's a bunch of gears and stuff on the wall. And as I'm looking at the gears and stuff on the wall, they look a bit scuffed. They're not doing so hot. They're not doing great. And then I realize that there is a keyhole that matches the key that I've found on this guy's body. So obviously I use it. And upon using the key, everything begins to grind and shake and tumble, and it goes. And I see as the wall next to me starts going. And shakes out, and rocks are tumbling everywhere, and I take cover under maybe one of these gears or something. When finally all of the shaking and rumbling stops, there's a giant staircase. So there's no way I'm getting up these stairs. Now I need to figure out how the dangerous hunt plays out. I'm thinking like a bird, because it says I need to hunt it for food. So maybe like night is falling. I haven't accomplished anything else in this day. Night is falling. I hear like this weird squawking noise. And I look sort of over the edge down below, and there are like 5 or 6 sort of like chicken things, but they're not really chickens because they've got they're a bit bigger than a chicken, and they're bright pink, and to fly they spin in circles like a helicopter. Flamingo helicopter chickens. And so I want to get them. Look at the little baby arm. Okay, maybe I go and I grab the arm off of it, and I'm going to use this arm, disconnected from the thing, to combat the chickens on the edge of this ledge. The only thing that I'm going to gain from this is chicken meat, or death. So, it says if it's a club, then they want to steal from me. That's kind of funny. So, basically, these chickens, they see me, and they're like, oh, dang. Maybe they're like magpies, you know? They see the shiny arm that I'm holding, because I've decided it's shiny. And they're like, dang, I really want to steal that arm, and also his hat, and also everything else that he owns. And I'm like, I really want to steal your soul and eat you. Let's fight. First, draw a number of cards equal to your combat score and place them face up in front of you. These are your options for this battle. 4 of hearts. And 9 of that. Spades. And I only get to pick 2 because that is what my combat is. My combat modifier. Okay, it says draw the first of the opponent's cards and place it face up in front of you. This is what my opponent has drawn. The 7 of clubs. And then it's like war. I have to beat it with a card of a higher number. So then what happens is it says I win. These things come up. They come up in a swarm. They're all slicing their little chicken claws at me. And I just punch one in the face. And then I punch another in the face. And then I slap a third with my arm because it's just an arm. And then punch. And then punch. And because they're all so weak and just like spinny little helicopter pink things, they all die. They all die. And it says that I can draw a treasure, but I think my treasure is going to be chicken. So I've got these 2 chickens. I've completed everything that's happening today. And I think Templeton ends his day by making a nice little fire and sitting by it in his hat with his feather and making some chicken. Oh yeah. And that concludes Templeton's adventure for today. I like Templeton as well. I find he's witty and fun. Happy-go-lucky, in fact. I think I should probably end the stream now. I'll do that. Bye-bye.